Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm sorry I was about a minute late, but for some reason I could not get the stream to start streaming on YouTube, and it started showing this evening's broadcast as being unlisted. So I said, that's strange, but it's all right because I did a little praying and I kept myself under control, and we went live at 7:01, 1 past the hour. It wasn't that big of a disaster. So here we are back at Studio A, first night since Saturday night's family special, which I keep getting really great information and feedback on. I appreciate you all very much, and thank you. Let's do this on the 11th day of March 2025. It's going to be a little bit more of just you and I. We have some mixed news up front. I want to ask the question eventually. What is the American dream? What do you think? What did you grow up thinking it was? And what do you think it is now? Have you had to lower your expectations? And we'll see where it goes from there. In the second half, I have a little bit that was sent in from a member of the audience. I thought it was pretty interesting. It actually went hand in hand with what we discussed last night with the psychoanalysis of people around us, especially certain users of the internet on places like Reddit and whatnot. You were talking about whether they were psyops and, or whether it really is just a startling litmus test of where people are mentally right now, especially with the bloodlust, the very public bloodlust, and all of the attacks on Tesla dealerships and charging stations and Tesla owners. I mean, it has gone beyond just protesting. It's gone into firebombing and everything else. So I wanted to talk about this because there is the whole idea of, manifesting the worst in everybody, and how even being put face to face with an enemy that seems to be really an existential threat could be a moment where you cross a threshold that actually serves the greater evil instead of actually restoring to order to the world. But the real question is, what do you do? What can we do? What do we do? What do you do when you go to war with evil to not become evil? So hopefully we got time for that in the second half, and yeah, away we go. So first things first, I wanted to bring attention to something that we're going to be doing tomorrow night. I got this for tomorrow night. I want to do something else on Thursday. I think we should have a pretty nice little mix of things over the course of the week. But take a look at this. It's up on the thread. It's up on the forum, quitefrankly.tv. You go to the forum, and pinned to the top is a new show thread. It's called Most Meaningful Jobs That You Ever Worked. Meaningful jobs. We've done like first jobs before, maybe a couple of years ago. But this is going to be tied to a couple of things that I found that I think you're going to find really interesting. And of course, I want to find a way to, once we, bring up this one thing that I found about somebody who has a really interesting job, I want to be able to go and bring you guys in. And I put this up and I mirrored it onto the community on Twitter. So if you're part of the community over there, if you use Twitter/X, you can go and check that out because it's all the same. I'll be working off of this thread and the community post over there. And here it is. Have you ever had a job that meant more to you than even the compensation? Obviously, especially if you're an adult and you're supporting not only yourself, but perhaps others, your family, whatever it is. Forget about the compensation, because we understand being able to pay the bills is important. But have you ever had a job that meant more to you than that? And are you in that job now? It doesn't matter if it was in the past or if it's in the present or if you're looking forward to it in the future. Please comment about it so we can include it on the on-air discussion. So that is going to be right here at the top of the forum, quitefrankly.tv. It only takes an email address to join it. And it's a really great forum that we've been building up for the last year or two. I think about 2 years now. I think since 2022, whenever we got kicked off of Reddit, actually. We said, well, I'm not going to set up shop anywhere else. Let's do something that we can, I think it's thousands of posts later. So there's a lot of great activity over there, and it's been a slow burn, but now it's our home. So please be a part of that, because tomorrow night's show, I think, should be a nice one. All right. Other than that, let me see. I think I think that's the biggest thing I wanted to announce. I think it is. Let me just make sure here. No, that's it. That's it. Okay, well, there you have it. I hope you go and be part of tomorrow night's show. We got plenty of room for you guys to jump into tonight's show, tonight's conversation as well. So let's just get started because we have an interesting grab bag. First of all, I did not know that Seth Rich was back on the chopping block here. This is from Joe Loria via Consortium News and syndicated by Zero Hedge. The attorney in the Freedom of Information case against the Federal Bureau of Investigation seeking the contents from the computers of a murdered staffer of the Democratic National Committee has criticized the number of redactions in the index that the Bureau turned over to the court late Monday night. Wouldn't it be great if the new Bureau director could get on this? Lots of things in the Seth Rich indexes don't pass the smell test, wrote Ty Clevenger. Still at it. He's still at it. Man, talking about Ty Clevenger for almost 10 years now. You know, you think about all this going down in 2016 and the fact that we are now pushing through 2025. It's just incredible where the time goes. But Ty Clevenger's still at it. The attorney for Brian Huddleston, a Texas businessman who filed a Freedom of Information Act request in September 2017, seeking to learn whether Rich was the source of the WikiLeaks 2016 publication of the DNC. You can just talk to Cy Hirsch about that one. Emails that impacted that year's U.S. presidential election. To what degree, no one still knows. Huddleston sued the FBI in June 2020 after the Bureau turned down his request. Rich, who was the DNC's voter expansion data director, wasn't just a measly old staffer there, was murdered on a Washington, D.C. street in the early morning hours of July 10th, 2016. There's a typo over there. It says 2106. 12 days before WikiLeaks released its DNC emails and 15 days before the start of the DNC convention on July 25th, 2016. The case has never been solved. It can be. It can be from a number of angles. First of all, the person that he was dealing with is now a free man. Now, I wonder to what end Julian Assange is ready to talk. I wonder. Suspected WikiLeaks link. The suspicion that Rich may have been WikiLeaks source arose when Julian Assange told a Dutch TV interviewer 2 weeks later, on August 10th of 2016, that, quote, whistleblowers go to significant efforts to get us material and often very significant risks. A 27-year-old works for the DNC was shot in the back, murdered just a few days ago for unknown reasons. He was walking down the street in Washington, he said. We retold the whole thing. Then he offered, I think, $20,000 reward. Pressed by the interviewer to say whether Rich was the source of the DNC emails, Assange said WikiLeaks never reveals its sources, yet it appeared to be an indirect way of naming Rich while formally maintaining WikiLeaks policy. Assange could also have been cynically using Rich's death to divert the trail from the real source. I don't think so. Rolling Stone magazine reported in November 19 that the lawyer for Seth Rich's brother Aaron tried to subpoena WikiLeaks and Assange to depose them on evidence of Seth's involvement, but were unable to. Here's the bit about the reward. On the same day of the Dutch television interview, WikiLeaks offered a $20,000 reward for information leading to the solution of the mystery of who killed Rich. And they're still trying to get it, and they're still getting dog shit back. Redacted dog shit. Oh, and there's even more. And here's Cy Hirsch. Yeah. And now they're quoting Cy Hirsch. As you might have been reminded time and time again, I select articles I will read through and make highlights, but I like just reading them with you. Anyway, it's good review. I did not know that they're still digging, but you know, there's a little bit of a change in personnel over there at the FBI. Perhaps sometime over the next 3 years, that can be one of those things. I mean, that would be huge. I mean, that is murder. That's murder one, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, from Politico, USAID official tells remaining staffers shred and burn all your documents. Now, that doesn't seem legal, considering that all of the money and all of the operations there are funded by us. It's public money. That just doesn't seem legal to me. Or shouldn't be. A senior official at USAID instructed the agency's remaining staff to convene at the agency's now former headquarters in Washington on Tuesday for an all-day group effort to destroy documents stored there, many of which contain sensitive information. The materials earmarked for destruction include contents of the agency's classified safes and personnel documents at the Ronald Reagan Building, said in an email sent by USAID's acting executive director Erica Carr and obtained by Politico. Shred as many documents first and reserve the burn bags for when the shredder becomes unavailable for needs a break. The email said. Carr instructed staff to label burn bags with the word secret and USAID B10, agency shorthand for Bureau or IO, Independent Office. I thought that was a 1, sorry. The email didn't provide any reason for the document's destruction. The building is being emptied out after mass layoffs, which may have disrupted routine document destruction timetables. Customs and Border Protection is planning to move into USAID facility, having rented 390,000 square feet of office space in the building last month. The effort is also underscores the tumultuous way in which the Trump administration is dismantling the agency that once managed a $40 billion annual budget and had more than 10,000 staff around the world. Okay, so is Erica Carr going in there and wiping things out on behalf of the Trump administration? With all the auditing going on right now, I'd have to, my assumption would be no, only because why would you want to destroy? Anyway, so that continues. The 390,000 square feet. My gosh, I do well with just 400 square feet in this room, you know? Just give me 400 square feet. I'll make a show. I'll make a show out of it. Won't be able to secure the border though. So there's that. Here's a little something for you I thought was just breathtaking. Yahoo News. They were forced to scam others worldwide. Now thousands are detained on the Myanmar border. Are you ready for this one? Thousands of sick, exhausted, and terrified young men and women from countries all over the world squat in rows, packed shoulder to shoulder, surgical masks covering their mouths and eyes. Their nightmare was supposed to be over. Last month, a dramatic and highly publicized operation by Thai, Chinese, and Myanmar authorities led to the release of more than 7,000 people from locked compounds in Myanmar, where they were forced to trick Americans and others out of their life savings. You know, a lot of the cybersecurity, the cyber scamming that's been going on, they found one operation that had essentially enslaved 7,000 people. 7,000 people locked into compounds where they were forced to sit there and make calls and do these scams. But survivors have found themselves trapped once again, this time in overcrowded facilities with no medical care, limited food, and no idea when they'll be sent home. One young man from India said about 800 people were being held in the same facility as he, sharing 10 dirty toilets. 800 people, 10 dirty toilets. He said many of the people there were feverish and coughing. Like all former enslaved scammers who talked to the Associated Press, he spoke on condition of anonymity out of concern for his safety. Quote, "If we die here with the health issues, who is responsible for that?" he asked. The armed groups who are holding the survivors, as well as Thai officials across the border, say that they are awaiting action from the detainees' home governments. It's one of the largest potential rescues of forced laborers in modern history, but advocates say that the first major effort to crack down on the cyber scam industry has turned into a growing humanitarian crisis. The people released are just a small fraction of what could be 300,000 people working in similar scam operations across the region. According to an estimate from the United States Institute of Peace, 300,000 people. Human rights groups and analysts add that the networks that run these illegal scams will continue to operate unless much broader action is taken against them, a high-profile crackdown. The trapped people, some of whom are highly educated and fluent in English, were initially lured to Thailand with promises of lucrative office jobs, only to find themselves locked in buildings where they describe being forced to sit at computers up to 16 hours a day running scams. Refusing to work could bring beatings, starvation, and electric shocks. Your passport is confiscated, you cannot go outside, and everything is like hell, a living hell, a trapped Pakistani man told the Associated Press. Cyber scams run from compounds have been flourishing during the pandemic, targeting people around the world. The United Nations Office on Drugs and Crimes estimated that between $18 billion and $37 billion was lost in Asia alone in 2023, with minimal government action against the criminal industry spread. Beijing began pushing the region's government to crack down this year after a young Chinese actor was trafficked to Myanmar by people who promised him an acting job in Thailand. His girlfriend spearheaded a viral social media campaign that led to his release. So be on the lookout for that, man. That's just $18 billion to $37 billion was lost in that region alone in 2023. They had hundreds of thousands of people just locked, running the scams. So just wanted to throw that out there because I'm sure that we're going to get more and more on this one. I should actually highlight that just so that it might come up somewhere down the line. Anyway, a little bit more on that later on. Let's get this show started, shall we? That's a little bit of grab bag up top. Now we're going to do some other news that kind of strings together, and then I'll pose the first half question for you all. Can't wait to get your calls, and then into the second hour we go. Don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. It is time to get real cozy with it.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's ride!
Simplicity of the beat, dark and gritty. Yes, I got I'm so excited because this month the new intro has already started. We're starting to piece together the new intro. Mike May started work, principal photography. So sweeping through the entire thing already. The entire operation is getting a big facelift. A long time coming, but I'm excited about things, man. And thank you all so much for the support. Thank you. And just so you know, this week I'm giving away another one of those Trump coins that Jay Britt sent to me to be able to give away. I'm also giving away a few other things. We're going to be doing doing two subscriber raffles this week. I think tomorrow Lauren is going to be generating a name from all of the monthly subscribers across Patreon, Subscribestar, Quite Frankly.tv, the Squarespace, and that'll be fun. We're going to be giving away silver, coffee. I think Molly from Keto Brainz might be calling in on Friday night to give away a bag of Keto Brainz to another monthly subscriber that we're doing 2 giveaways this month, so that'll be fun. But we're going to be doing other stuff as well. Why don't I just keep giving you guys stuff, and I have a lot of fun with that. I get excited for the winners. It's almost like I win too. You know? Anyway, well, I have this over here I wanted to get into, and this is a little bit from a CIA poster child who just won herself a 6-year bid as a senator in Michigan. Imagine that. Her name is, I think it's Alyssa Slotkin. I don't know if it's Alyssa. I remember Slotkin because it's just one of those last names. Anyway, Senator Slotkin had some things to say. She commented on Elon Musk yesterday, and I first want to play you his statement. This is about Social Security. Here's a statement, really, really quick. It's about 51 seconds long. He was on Fox Business.
So the way it's important in entitlement spending, which is which is most of the federal spending is entitlements. So that's like the big one to eliminate, because that's the sort of $500 billion, maybe $700 billion a year. That is also a mechanism by which the Democrats attract and retain illegal immigrants by essentially paying them to come here, and then turning them into voters.
Yes.
So this is why the Democrats are so upset about the situation, because they're losing. If we turn off this gigantic money magnet for illegal immigrants, then they will leave, and they will lose voters.
So what they did was, of course, cut out this little piece here that kind of sounds like he's saying if we just get rid of Social Security, then the illegal immigrants will leave. But he's talking about hundreds of billions of dollars that were identified off the top that is going to people who obviously don't exist. It's obvious. Now, whether checks are being cut or those Social Security numbers are being used to open up lines of credit or cashing in other programs, means-tested programs, whatever the hell it is, that's just what it is. And, of course, then you have Senator Slotkin, who says, Musk just said the quiet part out loud. This is the CIA, remember. Just said the quiet part out loud. He's going after your Social Security and Medicare, period. Mark my words, they will make you pay in every part of your life, which is ridiculous because obviously everything the serpent says is lying. This is like telling a morbidly obese person that if you lose weight and you get your diet under control, it's going to make it harder for you to find food. It's going to make it harder for you to feed yourself. It makes zero sense because, again, whether it's mail-in voting, whether it's the absence of voting ID laws or anything else like that, within the margin of that chaos, anything can happen. And that is where especially progressives live. They live within that margin of chaos where anything can be diverted to one thing or another. They never actually have to worry about fundraising. They don't have to worry about doing anything that makes them attractive to people in an organic way, because there's always just going to be a phantom system behind it, keeping their body alive, reanimated corpse that just keeps on living and somehow competing in elections. Not to say that there is too much to be thankful for coming out of the Republican camp. We suffer through both parties, but still, we know who largely is the greatest beneficiary from this. Now, obviously, the message here is necessary to get out to larger audiences, so they went to a slightly larger audience, from Slotkin's personal Twitter to The View, to eat cheesecake with the hags, the cheesecake eating hags over there at The View. And she wanted to put it out there once again. Here is the clip from her on The View, I guess, this morning.
Yesterday, they said the quiet part out loud. Mm-hmm. Your Medicare and Social Security, they call them entitlements. Mm-hmm. Those are things you have worked for your entire life.
They're your money. It's your money.
Entire life.
Yeah.
And if they're looking in the couch cushions, that Medicare and Social Security are some big bills in those couch cushions. So I think they're going to make you pay, and then they're going to try and tell you it's all going to be all right. Just let us get through that.
Blame it on Biden.
No, do not believe it.
You know what? You have to come back.
You have to come back. Well, she's already there. She's in your newsrooms. Everybody like her is in your newsrooms. Okay, she's just a spook in a turtleneck. What do you want? Spook in a turtleneck from Michigan. You have to come back. You have to come back. Smoker's cough. Love when Whoopi gets. You have to. First of all, to call it entitlements it's a totally appropriate descriptor. Not everybody who receives money actually spent a lot of time putting into it. Okay? So it's a perfectly fine descriptor. Now, what we're talking about here, again, she brought it to the views, knowing that the audience there is really not very enlightened. They're not very smart. And the real thing here is that Social Security is being exposed as being major, or has a major slush fund attached to it, attached to an unconstitutional program. On the ass of the unconstitutional program is a giant goiter, and that is a slush fund for Democrats, or whatever kind of domestic political operation that works against our interest, whatever the hell it is. Now, would it endanger tens of millions of the undead? You know? Yes, it would. Yes, it would. But who would it endanger outside of the tens of millions of the undead if they were trimmed from the ledger there? Of course, it's a rhetorical question, because if they are going to do what they say they're going to do, that means, Doge and the executive branch, if this is actually going to be cleaned up, and you know how I feel about those programs, but it's crazy because this would actually mean that it would be more feasible to keep these gigantic systems afloat for a while longer, perhaps even give real Americans who have been taken from their entire lives, whether they believe in the nobility of the cause and the nobility of the program or not, they have been taken from their entire lives. They should get something back. They should get a raise, if that's even possible. But when you merely peek under the hood of something like this, of something like Social Security, where you just peek under the hood and someone starts screaming bloody murder about and making accusations about, oh, they said the quiet part out loud. What are you talking about? It's the same exact reaction they had with Trump and Ukraine in 2019. They are so spooked out. They were so freaked out about somebody that they could not control 100% snooping around in what they had going for them in Ukraine, that they screamed about election interference because of the Bidens were involved, and they turned it into impeachment number one, which flowed perfectly into COVID. I don't know how else to tell this to you, but that was the timeline. And that's just what it is. It's just what it is. The reaction is so hilarious that you look under the hood of a sputtering car and somebody cries foul because you may want to replace some parts so that the car runs better and the people who have to use the car actually can use it well. It's so ridiculous. On the face of it, it's ridiculous. And you can only be split apart and not have a common understanding of the situation if, of course, politics gets in the way of basic cognitive function. And that's just what it is for so many people. It's so and the fact that they ask Slotkin, this is her time to shine now, because she's kind of been like, there. I remember when she came into Congress a few years ago and people, drew up her background, said, oh, she's CIA. Now she'll say former national security official, won't put CIA all over the place, but she's CIA. And I guess it's her time to shine now because there's just a lot of, I don't know, they get this youth, and she understands the importance of messaging, but hopefully the audience is shrinking up there. Okay, now here's the other thing I wanted to throw out there. To take Medicaid, let's talk about that too, and put it in with what we're talking about with Social Security. Listen to this from the National Pulse. Other big numbers here. By William Upton yesterday. Medicaid issued a whopping $1.1 trillion in improper payments. The federal government's Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services has issued an estimated $1.1 trillion in improper payments over the last decade, according to a new outside analysis. While CMS's internal audit suggested at least $543 billion in improper payments over a decade, the Paragon Health Institute, an independent and nonpartisan healthcare think tank, says its research reveals that the fraudulent payments are over double what the government reports. According to researchers with the Paragon Health Institute, CMS data excludes eligibility checks, which produces a lower inaccurate cost for fraudulent payments. The researchers note that CMS's payment error rate measurement, PERM, I remember when my mother used to go get PERMs. It used to scare me. I was a little kid. My mom used to get perms all the time. She'd come home from the salon, she'd get perm, and I'd be scared to look at her because I told her she looked like Jesus with the crown of thorns on, because her hair would all be like kind of puffed up and spiky. It's like, oh no. And I always liked, playing with my mom's hair. So I'd have to go, after the perm, I'd have to go up under her hair to find the hair that hasn't been curled up. Perms. Women don't get perms? That's all out, right? Do they get it teased anymore? I don't know this shit. I was wearing pleated pants way too long. Okay. Nobody told me that pleats were out like 10 years ago, and I wore them like 2 years past I don't know when it was. Whenever pleats were out, I wore them 2 years longer because I just don't know these things. And what's worse is I got the pleated pants from Kohl's. They weren't even good. What the fuck are we talking about? What were we talking about? This. Let's just talk about hairstyles and pants. Who gives a shit? Who gives a rat's ass about all this stuff, right? According to researchers from the Paragon, who gives a shit? Perm audits under both the Obama and Biden governments excluded analysis of state eligibility determinations, resulting in an inaccurate estimation of improper payments. So you think about 1.1 trillion, man. 1.1 trillion. The money is stupid. To clean it up would actually instill some hope in anybody who's looking at this reasonably, that, oh, wow, maybe there's ways that we can give back to the people who've been stolen from their entire lives to keep these things alive, while the fraud was built on the back end of it. But again, it's fraud. People need to go to jail. Will they? That's the big question. So anybody that says they're taking away Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security, you got to tell them, if Trump and Doge are able to do what it seems like they're inching into doing, the system is probably going to be more stable than it has been ever before. You just don't know. And I don't like it just at the baseline. I still think that there needs to be a sunset clause, and let's get rid of it quickly and just have people take care of their private lives. Now, here's the question for you guys today. You think of 1.1 trillion, you think of 600 to 800 billion off the top of Social Security that were identified as where's it all going? You think about these ridiculous numbers that we even got yesterday about little children that were given hundreds of millions of dollars in small business loans over the course of the last 5 years or something like that. If all of that is really clamped down on and it just shrivels up and goes away and we lean out, the real question here is, why is it in the spending bill? And it's caused a lot of problems, especially today. I saw this. I woke up to this big rift between Donald Trump and Massey, Congressman Massey from Kentucky. And I'll tell you, it's one of those things where just everybody's at war with each other. You're on one side or the other, and I don't understand. I would love to know this about you. House Rules Committee advances GOP stopgap ahead of shutdown deadline, but it's without Thomas Massey. And I don't know who the hell else. Let's see here. The panel voted 9-3 to adopt the rule which governs debate on the legislation. The successful vote sends the measure to the House floor for debate and final vote. And here's the question. What do you think about this? Because it's pit a lot of people against each other. Sometimes you can say that there's TDS that goes in both directions. Now, I don't want to see Thomas Massie gone. Donald Trump was saying early this morning that I think he's going to spearhead a primary challenge against Massie to get him out of there. But I don't, there's just one of those things. Call in and tell me why you would want to see Massie out of Congress if so. And if not, you call in against him and for him. It doesn't matter to me. But I was asking the same question a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about this continuing resolution bullshit. Why would the cuts not be in there? Even if Marco Rubio says that 83% of all the money has still been eliminated, why do you need 83% of the money to still be created then? I don't understand it. So I don't necessarily want to see Thomas Massie out of Congress. He's got good points there. On the other hand, the majority is definitely too slim to start splintering people about. But I'd like to see things be a little bit more diplomatic instead of the tribalism getting so down. It's like sectarianism sometimes. So call in on that, because the other issue there looming over everything is the filibuster. Whether House Republicans have Massie on board with them or not, what is going to get past the Senate? If this is just this stopgap measure is going to get us to September, because we know the Democrats would say absolutely, because everything that was in there the last time they voted is still in there right now. What's going to happen in 2026? I really would like somebody who understands the strategy here to let me know what is going to happen in 2026. I guess if you break them down in individual bills, is that really it? That could be great. That could be it. Because then all essential things would be on the table. You won't be lumping military pay in with all this other bullshit. That could be part of the plan there. But listen, the first 2 years here are very, very important. And I do not see how Republicans are going to be able to swell their numbers to 60 plus Senate seats by next November to be able to go completely unimpeded while keeping the House completely unimpeded for the last 2 years of Trump's final term. So I just wonder how you guys see all this stuff. You can call in 914-200-0269, and I'm going to give you something else here too. I'm going to give you a little something else. Unusual Wales on March 6th. He said this, and we put this into the Telegram, and we asked the question, what is the American dream? Here we go. Unusual Wales says US Treasury Secretary Besant says access to cheap goods is not the essence of the American dream. And it started, people started in the comments, started wondering, and going against each other here. What is the essence of the American dream? Has the American dream changed for now? Somebody said. A country without gross corruption for our kids is all I care about at the moment. With criminals in jail, that is my American dream. Of course, they got pounced on by a lot of Kamala Harris voters for saying, oh, so now you don't care about Trump's promises for there to be, dropping prices and all that stuff immediately. Again, if you were watching this show, nobody was expecting prices to drop the day after Inauguration Day. Because if you understand what has been given away, what has been surrendered to the rest of the world, then you understand how long it may take for that realignment to bring business and manufacturing and all that domestic production back here, domestic, I should say, all that production back here domestically, that it's going to take time to influence and attract new business operations to set up shop here so that we start becoming exporters and just self-sustainable rather than importers and all that stuff. And that's what's going to really make a difference on cost of living and everything else. We have slowly been ripped apart and had our pieces mailed all over the world to start creating a world community. That's what this is all about. It's about starting to diminish domestic sovereignty, domestic production, make sure that every country is so over the top invested in the success of another country. They have something very vital invested in one country that they can't do at home, that we start becoming like specialist states, where if one goes down, somebody has a complete, like nobody's self-sustaining. This is the whole part here in this interdependence of the globalist interdependence. And it's not good. It's not good that so many countries should be, living on the edge. And that is going to take time. But you can't explain that to a lot of people. They take these things literally. They continue to think that Trump is not bringing the price of eggs down because he can go onto the beach like Jesus and pick up clay and create a chicken. It's like this is you've killed hundreds of millions of them. What the hell are we talking about here with the chickens and the eggs already? Go buy some chickens. I don't know how to tell people. It's just ridiculous. It's a creation of life situation at that point. So yeah. You let me know, what is the American dream? And call in on anything else in the first half, and we're going to take this for the next 20 minutes. Let's go here. Bryce, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hello.
Hey, Bryce.
Hey, how's it going, Frank?
It's going.
Yeah, I mean, the crazy world, a mixed bag. So Thomas Massie, I think a lot of us have really liked him over the years for being such a principled conservative, kind of a little more libertarian, rights-focused, a Mr. No, if you will, kind of vetoing left and right. But I think the message here is that pragmatism is important, and, the will of the people, the democratic institution of Trump and his administration is kind of the priority here. And I think Thomas Massie's kind of missing the boat by hardlining on this, especially when you consider the practicalities of unwinding everything that's been going on. If you try to light switch the economy from, a vampire squid mode into a golden era, you'll break it. So I think you've got to take it, step by step. And part of that is, I think, the CR with a little bit of reduction because of all the cuts, and you taper and you kind of wean your way in. And under that CR, you kind of get all the other pieces in play. You start making all this money on tariffs. You start confiscating the bad guys' assets, whatever it is. And then you can go to the full Thomas Massie, pure principle, cut it all, no more spending, in the Fed, in the IRS. But you can't do it overnight. I mean, we all want people to be arrested like today, yesterday, 7 years ago. We all want the IRS, the Fed to be gone, but you have to do these things in a phased approach. So I think that's what's going on. And, I love Massie, but he gets in the way of this, I mean, he's one man. He's not our country. So country over Massie.
Well, I mean, he's also Kentucky's, and that's the other thing there too. It's all in my eyes. It's all right to have dissent, and you can have a fight in public, and you can debate in public. But
sure. I'm glad he's bringing it up. Yes,
I don't like how it's gotten to the point where we're talking primarying, because
I agree. It's a bit severe. I think the best case scenario here is that maybe there's some kabuki theater. Maybe this is Trump doing a kayfabe, it's not the first time he's been in a goofy kind of staged wrestling ring. So I think best case scenario here, Massie is helping him illustrate the point of what we need to get to. He's telegraphing the future state. Hopefully he took him into the back. He said, hey, I'm going to slap you around. You're going to fight me. We're going to be buds. I'll threaten you with the primary, but it's all going to work out. That's my hope. Reality is, maybe Massie's just a narcissist and Trump's the bigger one, and he's going to steamroll him. I don't know.
Well, but while I got you, because, there's other people calling in, but since it seems like you've been thinking about this, Ultimately, the real question, like I said before, is the Senate, and that there is no majority that is filibuster proof there. So going into 2026, if they're saying, okay, well, this is going to get us to September, and then we have a pre-holiday fight on our hands there. Are we going to have the government shut down in the fall and all that stuff? The makeup of Congress is going to be no different. So how do you see this playing out in September as they look for some way to get us past New Year's? Where at this point, because it won't matter. Right now you can say, hey, listen, we need a tapered approach. We can't take any of the Doge cuts out just yet, but in September it'll be there. How do you get past the fact that you don't have 60 votes in the Senate in September? What do you think the game plan is going to be there?
Yeah, I mean, that's tricky. So remind me, do we have any midterms before that, or are we kind of stuck with the slate we've got?
There may be some special elections, because I think that there are 2 seats, like Matt Gaetz's seat is, I think it's vacant. I think there's somebody else there too.
Yeah, but it's still far from 60. So
no, those are House elections, not the Senate. But it's no way.
Well, okay, maybe it goes this way. I mean, 8 months, 7-8 months, whatever it is, we could see a slew of wins that just creates a total ground shift. And by the time we get to that scenario, the 60 isn't even necessary. But yeah, if we get into that gridlock, I mean, it could just be status quo. We have the same Congress that does nothing as usual. So,
well, here's the thing, and thank you for the call, Bryce. It's great to hear from you. I guess you can just say goodbye to these resolutions, and you can just say, hey, you know what? We're all making 6 figures to be here and to vote on shit and to debate on shit. Let's see how smart we really are, and let's actually earn this money that we're all making over here. Got to start voting on individual things. And you know what? In that respect, wouldn't it be just as much power for Republicans than anything else? The things that would need to get passed, I don't see how anybody would be able to say, no, I'm not voting on military budget or, pensions for one thing or another. I'm not voting on that because another bill is not being brought up. Then you just look like an asshole if you're a Democrat. That's not going to happen. The issue here again is that all of this is molded together. It's a big mess. If it's broken apart and it's taken one thing at a time, Republicans can actually just trim the budget by just not taking things up for a vote, letting it expire. You could do a lot of budget trimming just by letting it expire. I'd have to imagine. That is the biggest reason for never, aside from the fact that it flies in the face of reason, that you would be elected to take these things on and to micromanage whatever you are authorized to manage at the government level, and to just throw it all into one big barrel with all these poison pills in there, mixed in with things that are actually necessary, and then everybody holds each other hostage and plays politics over it. I say break it apart. That may be what the game plan is. It may be what it is. It would be very stupid if it wasn't. It'd be very stupid. So, yeah, because I don't know how else you get around that. Let's take a call. 602, you're on the air. Go ahead, 602.
Hey, is this Frank?
Yeah, who's this?
Frank, what's up? This is Airway to Steven.
Steven? What's going on, man? I remember you from last night.
Yeah. Hey, man, look, so you're talking about the what's the American dream. I'm 48, and I grew up with parents who were able to buy houses, every, 10 years or so. We moved into a larger house as the family grew and so on, and it seemed like that was a key part of that generation's American dream, and nowadays, I think for a lot of people, that part of the American dream is it's just vanished. I live out in Silicon Valley, and any house out here, any house, any structure that is, set up for a person to live in is $1 million. And even though I have a decent, blue collar job, in order for me to buy a house, I'm going to have to save up at least $500,000 for a down payment, and then be able to finance the rest, the other $500,000 somehow. And so I think it's true for a lot of people. Like I said, that part of the American dream for my generation and the younger ones is kind of a foregone conclusion.
I gotta say that is more so in line with what I always perceived the American dream to be, and that was to be able to say, this is my little plot, this is my little kingdom over here, this is my yard, this is my yard, this is my grill, this is my this is my pool if you want one, this is my cherry tree, and it's your, and then of course I learned what property taxes were. And I said, so wait, so even if you pay off your mortgage, you still don't own your house. And then you learn about things like estate tax. And you're like, so when I die, there's a tax on the estate that even those who I love, I'm leaving it all behind, would have to maybe even consider selling everything that I have left behind just so that they can escape being, stuck with some kind of a debit balance with the fucking government. I mean, this is what I'm talking. I think that's the big thing here. And at least for me, I think that we're on the same page, and perhaps other people are too. But what is getting lost over here right now with things like this is that people are like, oh, well, I thought the American dream is having, the things be affordable, like affordable stuff. Affordable, thinking about the eggs, thinking about immediate payoff on stuff like that, and not talking about what has been completely chopped up and sold away and bartered off over the course of generations. There was nothing that the day after Inauguration Day we were going to be handed in reduction in prices, when it is just the entire world that has to be rearranged, and we have to reinvest in ourselves. And then, I don't know, it's so much bigger, but I think you might have cut to the core of it. I can't wait to hear what other people say.
Yeah, it's, and so living out here, you see also the kind of competition that you're up against, also with who's buying houses, and how that, I guess, like how the price of houses has gone just through the roof, because you're literally competing with people who are, I guess I would just say, like foreign nationals that are being funded by their own home governments, like Chinese investors, so to speak, who can literally show up to an open house with a suitcase full of cash. And that's just not, I mean, for the average person, that's not feasible, right? I mean, we look at at the globe, and we look at the United States, and we see borders and we see state lines, but the powers that be don't see that kind of stuff. They look at you know what I mean? Yeah. It's a one big global economy, one big market. And it's sad, man. Like you said, that all these taxes that you leave your family burdened with, that keeps them in this perpetual debt cycle. It's not like a one-time purchase. I mean, it should be. A home should kind of, once it's paid off, it should be paid off, but it just continues. Yeah.
I very good call, and thank you for that. I'm glad we kicked off this topic in particular with that take, because it's I think it's very important. I hope more people come to comment on this too.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. And another thing too is I've got so I guess I'm not really afraid of doxing myself, so to speak, but I'm a UPS driver out here, man, and I've got some interesting stories about the tech oligarchs that deliver to. I'll just say maybe for future program.
Well, I mean, yeah. Hey, listen. Whenever we do open lines, you can come with any kind of show and tell you'd like, my man. But seriously, yeah. So please be on the lookout for the next open lines. We might do one or two this week still.
For sure. Okay, man. Thanks a lot.
All right, there you go. So we're going to get some lifestyles of the rich and the infamous here with Steven there at some point. Yeah. There's a lot of comments on this one thread alone. Bissent, the Treasury Secretary, is right. Cheap junk from overseas is not the American dream. It's a trap that gutted our manufacturing base. Trump's team finally gets what Wall Street ignored for decades. Agreed. Now, how you go about that, I don't know. I would lower business tax rates. I would shred them so that it would make no sense for big manufacturers, especially American manufacturers that had to leave for greener pastures, whether they went to, Ireland or wherever the hell else had really low corporate tax rates and stuff like that to set up their offices. It would make no sense for people to be anywhere else but the United States. And if you're American citizens already and you left America to find a better tax rate, invite them back. But see, that stuff takes time. That takes time to call everybody home. Your things are not going to start dropping. You got to get people here. You got to get them in business. You got to get the factories rolling. You got to get everything out there. You got to flood the market with domestic product. And cheap Chinese televisions, that's not the American dream. That's some consumerist bullshit. We talk about that every time we come around to Christmas time. It's usually with Robin McCutcheon. Consumerism versus Christmas. Consumerism versus the American dream. Now, to me, like I said, Stephen, the American dream was, or that I said to, no, it wasn't Bryce. It was Stephen, I think. The American dream is about having your glass of iced tea in your backyard on a Saturday afternoon. I don't know. I'm just trying to say you're self-sufficient. It's yours. You didn't need the world. You just needed that little patch of something. You just needed that balcony, whatever the hell it is, a condo and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's the whole idea of self-ownership and having property that is yours. And of course, all of that goes out the window when you start talking about taxation. When we were talking to Brandon Williams, and he'll be back on again in April, I think on April 9th. I mean, whether you buy into what he's saying and whether you would ever attempt to live in the way that he's suggesting is very possible to live, that is the definition of sovereignty. I mean, to totally own yourself and to own the fruits of your labor, that's everything. Think about how insidious the estate tax is. Property and the death tax is insidious. It is the most morally reprehensible thing ever. Doesn't matter who, I don't care how wealthy the family is. They're passing it down to a new generation that was born on third base and went their whole life thinking they hit a triple. Who cares? There's always going to be rich people. There's always going to be wealthy people. There's going to be moderately well-off people, comfortable people, poor people, whatever. But the way that we live right now, there is. How can you have an American dream if you can't even own your home? Okay? So challenge me on that one, because I'd like to see another perspective on the whole thing. My whole idea there is ownership. And how can you truly, you can make so much money that the taxes don't mean anything and it'll feel free. But that's just it's not the case. It's not the case. You just have an easier time paying for your privilege to own things. And I don't think that is good. Yeah, and as someone said over here, cheap junk from overseas isn't the American dream. It's a trap that gutted our manufacturing base. Someone underneath that said, actually, access to cheap, well-made goods is the essence of the American dream. I don't see that. I don't see that at all. Access to cheap, well-made goods is the result of sound economic policy. You can get cheap, well-made goods in European countries all over. That's not an American, that's not like a uniquely American thing to have cheap, well-made goods here. And first of all, how much cheap, well-made things do you know of in the United States now? That's the other thing that we've been talking about for a long time too. You think about the appliances that our parents and our grandparents and great-grandparents were using for decades. These things, Frigidairs, everything else that were built like tanks. And if a part ever broke, they can fix them. And they go on for another 25, 30 years. You build perhaps it's a little bit more expensive relative to how you're paying today, but at least you're getting more out of it. Things are nearly disposable these days. I don't think that that's part of the American dream. Anyhow, it's 8:01. I want to take more of your calls on this, so please fire up your lines. Fire up the lines. I'm going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to be taking that to another level and also some other things that I want to do here. But, I want to make an announcement, especially with our great sponsors and friends over there at Keto Brainz. They're going to be doing something for you guys for the rest of the month of March. And I already know what they want to do for you in April. But listen to this. All orders placed with Keto Brainz, with the Frankly codes, that is, if you are a monthly sponsor, you have your special code, and beneath, you go and you have your first time purchase with them, you use code Frankly for 20% off. What we're going to be doing is every purchase this month with them, you get this salty pack. It's what the hell is it called? They have sponsors or friends from Sweden that they put together these packets of hydration. It's essentially like electrolytes. So electrolyte salts. What do they say here? They sent me something. They said we wanted to fit something that was clean, simple, and natural in with people, the Scandinavian way of life. So they made this stuff called Salty. It's a superior blend of electrolytes formulated to keep you optimally hydrated, provides 800 milligrams of sodium, 400 milligrams of potassium, 60 milligrams of magnesium. No sugar, no carbs, just clean, effective hydration in its purest form. They're going to be giving away stuff with you guys. It's going to be really interesting in April. I got to tell Jay Gulinello about that one. But still, use promo code Frankly when you go and patronize our sponsors at Keto Brainz. And for the rest of this month, they're going to be sending you a little extra something with whatever you buy. So thanks for that. And thank you guys thank you so much for the support all around. I'm going to give you updates on my little legal situation soon. 2025, but that's that. Send a super chat because it might be necessary, that would be nice. I will talk to you guys in just a second. We'll come back with your super chats and your calls and the second half topic. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome to Intermission. Yeah, Intermission.
Bogus or what? Kyle? Kyle, what are you doing? I don't know, I can't help it.
Hey, let's take a call from 828. How are you, 828? 828, you feeling well? Let's go to Betty instead. Betty, how you feeling tonight?
Hi, I'm feeling good. Frank, how you feeling?
Oh, I'm all right. So is the weather good by you? It's almost 60 degrees today.
Beautiful day. My name's Rhonda. Betty's my mom's name.
Oh, well, welcome back, Rhonda.
Thank you. Yes, it's a beautiful day here.
Well,
you're absolutely correct. It is insidious. But we got to start looking at ourselves in the mirror. It's by choice. And I know people, don't want to get out there and take risks. You got a family, you got a daughter. I understand that. The only thing that kind of gets under my skin a little bit is when people are taking risks, they're shot down or, I don't mind hitting the barbed wire first, just, I don't even want to thank you. I don't think people do. We're just all trying to get it right, get it correct.
Yeah.
It's just that, being poo-pooed on, I think is kind of gets under my skin. But I've taken a risk out here before. It's about freedom, like you said. And by being a U.S. citizen, it's by choice. Nobody held a gun to your head and said, check this box. Now, you and I were born into it. And this is all by law. If you're a U.S. citizen, you are a serf. And that's why you can't own anything. Everything you own, even including your daughter, you gave to them. But the good news is, it don't have to continue to be that way. Like the 13th Amendment says, there shall not be involuntary servitude. But it doesn't mean there can't be voluntary servitude. So if you volunteer to be a U.S. citizen, that's on you. You have a choice. We all have a choice. And everybody in this whole world was born free. It's just that we're blessed enough to be here to where it was wrote down that our rights come from our Creator, not from any man. And, in this country, we have capitalism and we have free market. Now, if you're going to deal in the commercial world, then there's rules and regulations. And I can wear two hats. I can be a U.S. citizen, or I can be, if I want to deal in the commercial world, I can put on my U.S. citizen hat. If I want to be free, I can put on my free hat. And it's all about political status, not changing your citizenship, which I've done. And I was able, like I think I told you before, to, show that it worked.
Well,
not that it worked, but it's the law.
Well, the one thing we can say, Rhonda, no matter how we all go about remedying the situation, everybody knows that something's not right. And I think it really comes down to how much they're willing to risk and whether or not representation actually even means anything anymore, because of the money that we're seeing right now. It's more well-defined than ever before. And thank you for the call, because I want to take a few more here. It's been more well-defined than ever before of the money that's held this entire thing in place. Can representation without taxation, taxation without representation ever be put back into proper orbit constitutionally? I think not. Because we're seeing why. This is why people would never go back on any of that stuff. And a lot of that is also local taxes too. That has to do with local constitutions. I got to talk about that with Joe Williams or Brandon Williams at some point too. Forget about the United States Constitution. What about local? Tried to get into that just a little bit, but hey, listen, it's everybody sees the same thing. Everybody, and I know that there's quite a few people that see themselves as sovereign, politically sovereign, whatnot. I have some questions about that still. I'm saving it for, when we get closer to that night in April. But it's all from the same thing. It stems from, what is the American dream? What is the dream of a person, of a free person? Okay, you take America out of it. You take the cliche out of it. What's the dream of a free person? And wouldn't that just be self-ownership? I'd have to imagine. Derek, go ahead. You're on the air.
Frank, what's up, brother?
No.
Hey, weather's lovely in Florida. Just get that out of the way.
That sounds great.
It's a good conversation, man. And your previous caller, Rhonda, she hit it on the head with American citizens being served. So we could take it back to 1913 and Jekyll Island, and I thought you were talking about it, chasing the mortgage and then still being in the in the ring with the taxes and all that. I thought about greyhound races, man, and how do you get the dogs to run around the track? You get them to chase a rabbit.
Yeah.
They run fast to try to catch that rabbit, but you can't let them catch it, man. They got to just keep running. And I think dangling that carrot in front of the American people, it keeps us at work. 30 years, man. That's most people's adulthood. They keep us going to work. We got the bills to pay, and we keep reaching for it, but it's out of the reach for most of us. I think that's the idea.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
It's one of those things. The more you think about it, it becomes more puzzling because there really is no explanation for it. It becomes puzzling, then it becomes a little saddening as well, and because then what did our grandparents and great grandparents always feel good about? They liked putting in the hours for multiple jobs. At least mine did, because they knew that there was going to be something better for the next generation. And we've talked about this before too. What is the expectations for the next generation after us? Are they going to outdo us, or are they going to be settling into a tar trap and a tar pit? And that's what really needs to be worked out here. And I there's some things that are just crazy. I know property taxes are a lot more local, anything like that, but still, that and estate is horrendous. And I don't know anybody in my life that says that the ability to buy cheap electronics or kitchen appliances is the American dream. You can buy Cuisinarts in Germany. It doesn't matter. So,
I tell you what, man, I was in the Navy for 6 years out of high school. When I got out, I went into industrial maintenance. That was a nice transition for me. And I worked at a job in an aluminum factory for 9 months. And I would go do overtime on the weekends. We were taking up some of the old equipment and putting it on flatbed trailers and sending it out. I think we're getting new equipment. Oh, man, I literally shipped my job to China because our customers, the company's customers, were going to China for cheaper manufacturing, taking advantage of that slave labor over there. And I put myself at a job. I shipped my own job to China.
Yep.
It goes to the Mitt Romney class chasing that next $1 million and how they can get a company, chop it up, never mind the little guy. And that's how they gutted our industrial system in the economy. Hopefully Trump can bring it back, man. I'm looking at the tariffs and I'm looking at the trade deals, and it's looking optimistic, man. If we stay the course and stick with it, I think we can get back and be back on our feet from an industrial standard and self-sustainability. I think that's the key and the answer in the long run.
It is. It's one of those things that needs a little bit of time for the fires to kick up. And thank you for calling in, Derek.
Good talk, brother. Take care.
Yeah, take care. Out there in Florida, it takes a little time for the fires to kick up. If you understand what you're looking at, and I think a lot of people understand what we're looking at. We went into this with a very measured approach. If what was being proposed was actually going to happen, it's about realigning and reprioritizing domestic production of things instead of dependence on foreign producers of everything, from energy to pharmaceuticals to food, steel, cars, car parts, microchips. It is we could be major producer in all of that. All of it. And not only has our talent been shipped off, our resources have been shipped off, domestic resources refined in other countries and then sent back and sold to us. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And that's why things are so expensive as well, too. Because every time it leaves the country, gets refined, turned into a product, and then sent back in, it's got several layers of labor and manufacturing costs and everything else on top of it. It triple, quadruples in price, something that could have been done all right here under American labor. And that is not to besmirch the rest of the world, because everybody has the right to go in and hone in on whatever their country can produce the best of, and being a player and major provider of that on the open market. It's not xenophobic. It's not isolationist. It's everybody going out there and seeking things under a level playing field of self-interest. That's it. And we don't have that over here. And that is what's tied to so many of our issues, so many of them, on top of the fact that there are tens of thousands of people who need to be in jail because there are criminal operations on top of the whole thing. Not to mention that the whole thing in itself is just seditious. Whole thing. Why would you do that? Why would you send it all away if you know that it's just going to dilute some kind of a way for your home, supposed home, to compete in generations to come? Makes no sense. So you always come back to assuming that bad faith is being done in bad faith. It's not just a short-sighted deal like we heard from coming out of poor Chicago. I never even knew. Chicago with their parking meters. Can you just get telling Abu Dhabi, can you just give me $1.1 billion in cash considerations and we'll give you all of the parking meters for the next 75 years, which is like many billions? So, like, what the hell is that all about? Anyway, 906, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hello.
Hello, who's this?
This is Andy.
Andy, welcome to the show, Andy.
You're Dave.
Good day to you.
Good day.
Good day.
It is a good day.
It is a very good day.
Am I like on hold there now, or?
Yes. Yes, hold on. You're on hold. This is Jerry.
No, this is Frank.
Yes, it's just Frank. Okay, go ahead. Keep going.
You're talking about the American dream?
Oh, yes. Where is it? Where is it? Where is the American dream? How do you see it? And is it still possible?
The American dream is a lullaby. If you look up the word dream, it's an illusion you have while you're sleeping. And the American dream is what's fed to the people to keep them asleep so they won't see what's happening.
Well, I think if you take a little bit more of a cynical approach to, how it has been published and republished over time. But I like I said before, take away the word American. What is the dream of every free man and woman? What do you think is the ultimate state of existence for a free person? What is that? Is it a little bit of property ownership? Not too much, but just something to enjoy your life. Yes. Okay, go ahead.
The American, it's to own your own life, to be able to keep what you earn, and put it to you, put it to your family. And when you pass on, it goes to your kids. It doesn't go to property taxes. It doesn't get probated and divided up between the lawyers and the courts, which is what we have now.
And I
Everything
agree.
We have,
I agree with you, by the
everything
way.
we have now is a mine. It's just to mine the people.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm 100% on board with you there. The way that you described it, because that is the billing. It has been used. It has been used now for generations. Just the phrase, the American dream. It's been dangled in front of us like the carrot on the stick by many people who are seeking political office over the course of generations. And what does it really all come down to? They use it as a general rallying cry for people to vote for an equitable future, where by some act of Congress, people are taking all of people's most basic needs are being taken care of, and that's living like an infant until your dying day was never the dream of any free man.
No, the nanny state has nothing to do with freedom or anybody who wants freedom for themselves and their family. If you're a nanny state, they can take it away at any time. Anything you have a privilege, all you have is privilege. And if you piss the wrong person off, you lost it. They take it away. And you're screwed.
Well said. Well said. Is there anything else you want to leave us with tonight, sir?
No, thank you.
Well, I appreciate the call.
I'd just like to say thank you for doing your show.
Well,
I enjoy watching it.
I enjoy getting these calls because it reminds me that there are people out there watching, and I love that. So I hope that you call in more often, and thank you for your contribution tonight.
You're welcome.
All right,
Have
man.
a good night.
You too. Be well. I get it. What is the dream? It's an illusion. It's an illusion. And that's why the illusion has definitely been seized upon. And it has been dangled. That's the American dream, somebody will always say. And they tell you what the American dream is, about some kind of an existence, a nicely moderated existence. No, that's not it. I wouldn't call that a dream. I'd call that being 8 years old again and living at home. So yeah, there's that. Let's see a little bit more. Actually, you know what? Hold on. Let me get to the super chats. Jay Britt says, hey. Thank you, Jay Britz. Hello to you. Dan Rayner Art says, Frank, sir, apologies for the abrupt end of our phone chat last week regarding Brandon so-and-so. My internet wears a very small hat. Anyway, you've been the GOAT. Oh, you would have been the greatest of all time, the GOAT bartender. And it would have completely ruined your life. Trust me. Love to you, the family, and all the Franklies. That's an interesting thing right there to say. I do believe I would have been a good bartender, no doubt about it. And Dean thinks I would have been the greatest of all time, but it would have completely ruined my life. That's interesting. I want to know more, Dean. I want to know more. So thank you for that. Let's go over to Rumble, see how everybody's doing. We've got some super chats over there, some Rumble rants. I'm sorry. Grandma Grateful says, it's a great day, Frank. Thank you and your beautiful ladies for my winning draw. Oh, well, a little bit of luck from Lauren and Aurora. And Grandma Grateful's book goes out tomorrow with her Trump coin. This is the second one. I'm going to give this away sometime soon. All right, let's see here. And remember, everybody, please give the show a thumbs up. That's the most important thing ever. The most important thing I can ask of all of you. I need your help. And there's something everyone can do every night to help me. Top of the list, of course, is sponsoring the show at any level. It does not matter. Every little bit helps. But there is something that everybody can do every night, and that is to like the stream wherever you're watching it, to comment whenever the show is over. The comment section is such a huge part of visibility and algorithmic fluffing. Fluff me, baby. And then, of course, sharing it. So liking, commenting, and sharing. The live chat is not commenting. So just letting you know, that's everybody can help, because expanding the audience, of course, is my number one priority always. Hey, would you blow me too? Says, look up the Unified Budget Act of 1968. That's when they started stealing Social Security from the people. Would you send me a link, Haywood? That would be wonderful of you. Thank you so much. Jay Semo says, great show as usual, Frank. Cheers. Thank you, Jay. Hey, would you blow me too? Says, the American dream is leave me fucking alone. Until I kill, steal, or intentionally damage other people's property, mind your own business. I don't consent to taxes, licenses, or unconstitutional laws. Amen. What else can I say? What else can anybody add to that for real? Is the American dream really one thing over another? Or is it really just, yeah, that's it. Safety Net 820 says, happy number 76 birthday blessings to myself. One love, Lynn. Delona says, oh, here's an EMP. Delona, I love you. Thank you so much for the support. It really goes a long way. I thank you so much. Foxy Lady, thank you for the cookie. Cat Squirrel says, multi-generational homesteads with big families and high trust communities. That should be the American dream. It is definitely an offshoot of just self-ownership. Ownership, property, family, legacy. That the family farm is not taken away from somebody because the estate taxes are barely covered by the sale of the farm. That's wonderful, especially the high trust communities. You know, when I hear about people talking about living in the country or some other part of the country, about, you know, living in like rural areas or some other part of the union during times where you can leave and would leave the doors unlocked, the screen door open at night, and there was never an inkling of whether or not you were safe. That's so foreign to me. That's so foreign to me as somebody that has, you know, ring cams all over the place, checking them until I go to bed. Alarms, everybody does it. You know, it's just nuts. It really is. So thank you for that, cat squirrel. That is something there too, because it's not just about what you have. It's also your communities. You know what? The one thing I really love, especially up here, and I know that it's probably the same in many parts of the country here too, but everything is just so old in New England when it comes to, you know, American history and all that stuff. And I always love driving through Connecticut and into Massachusetts, and even on the way back. And at certain parts, when you're on the I-95 up here in the Northeast, and especially when the sun is setting, it's like dusk. And if you have a high enough elevation on the 95, like if you have an overpass that's going over a river or something else like that, and you look off into the distance, into the west, where the sun is setting, and you just have that beautiful orange glow, and right above the treetops is just church steeples all over the place. It's just church steeples all over the place. And, you know, is there high attendance at those churches? All of them? Some of them? Are all of them still open? Maybe many of them are just retired at this point. But at a time, that was as plentiful and important throughout this country, as I've learned, as, you know, local constitutions and everything else. It was so important, and it was such an amazing reason why things were so, you know, rich culturally, because everything was most alive on the local level. The town, the village, the hamlet. It was most alive there. Local culture was the most important. There was no national pop culture, nothing like that. Your country was your state. And that's just something I always get reminded of whenever I'm driving around New England and stuff like that, especially at certain times and certain elevations. You just look out into the distance and it's just church steeples. And I love that. And it's a reminder. It really is. And that goes back to the community thing, comment here from Cat Squirrel. I have something else over here too. Now the calls are just flooding in. I may have to save the occult death thing. I don't know. We'll see. Hey, hello, young man. Bobby here. If you can remember to give a happy birthday shout out to Marty, my better half, tonight, that would be wonderful. She keeps me alive and kicking through Parkinson's and everything else, and words will never express my love for her. Thanks, and much love to you and the Frankly family. That's from Bob. Going out to Marty. Happy birthday, Marty. Thank you for taking care of Bob. He loves you very much. This is from John. Frank, I heard you and the family bring up the Beatles on Saturday night. Looking forward to their return in May. I have to imagine you're talking about my family's return in May. It's not the Beatles. Do you have a favorite Beatles song? I don't know if I have a favorite one. I love a lot of them. I was raised on so many of the melodies of the earlier stuff. Like The Night Before. I love The Night Before. There's a lot of stuff in the older stuff too that I mean the newer, I would say the later stuff too. But let me see here. I hope it's not going to get me banned. It's going to get me banned? I just love this melody.
We said our goodbye the night before. Love was in your eyes the night before.
Then I have to play this one then. Now, this is for another reason. If I fell, because there is a very, very obvious vocal crack in here by Paul McCartney that I never understood why it was left in there. I never understood this. Let's see here.
Was more than just holding hands. If I give my heart to you, I must be sure.
But it's at the end. Hold on. Wait.
So I hope you see that I would love to love you. And when she let you see in vain.
Okay, here you go. Let's hear it. Now listen. That our new love was in vain. Listen to Paul McCartney's voice. He cracks. When he goes up to say in vain, he totally loses it. I don't know why they didn't just, I understand it's like wall of sound kind of recording. You can't just like punch in like you do now. Oh, you know, that I got to tighten that part up. Can you just punch me in? But I can't believe that this stayed in there. Listen to this.
Our new love,
right here.
sad if our new love was in vain.
Did you hear him? Hey, listen, why did they leave that in there? It's so weird.
Was in vain.
He just completely bottoms out. Well, that's not bottoming out, just tops out, I guess. Went up that ladder, reached for that top note, couldn't get it. Anyway, I'm off track now. 914-200-0269. Let's just keep this going. Let's keep this going. And I'll push this occult death penalty thing to tomorrow because I can do that. Let's go to 608. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey Frank, I'm from Wisconsin calling. I'm listening since around 2016. This is my first time calling.
Well, it's great to hear from you. What'd you say your name was? Anyway, okay. Well, you're on. I think you're on. Are you on speakerphone or something? Because you're a little bit muffled.
Right.
Hello. Oh, I want his first call to be special, but he can't hear me. All right, let's see here. 252. You're on the air. 252.
Hey, sorry. Let me take you off my headset. Can you hear me well?
You sound great. Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, man, just wanted to elaborate a little bit on what the guy said about you being a bartender.
Yes.
If that's okay.
Yeah. Why would it have ruined my life, especially if I was a good one?
So, I've worked in restaurants through the entirety of my young adult life and off and on to make some extra money. And I worked at one place that was a steakhouse, kind of bartender scene, kind of wild nightlife. People would tailgate in the parking lot. And drugs and women kind of flow with the late hours and temptation. And I would assume that would be what he was referring to.
Maybe women at a time, but I don't think drugs and alcohol would have done it. I think the more alcohol I've been around, every studio we have set up, we always made sure that we had a nice little bar area so we can offer things to guests. And when we put our first bar area in and we started getting different whiskeys and just arranging the bar area with the light up shelves and all that stuff, I used to have fantasies of, oh, you know what? I'm going to go to the studio, have myself a little glass of scotch tonight. I have drank, I can't tell you, I drink less and less the more I'm surrounded by liquor. It's like the opposite. There's no allure to it at all. So maybe women, but I don't think drugs and alcohol would have been it. I would have been a very dry bartender.
Well, kudos to you. I know it's taken down at many a strong man. And also, you might want to cut out the part of the episode that had the Beatles in it, man. That's going to get hit for sure.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Perhaps. I mean, if it gets hit, then it's just they're going to tell me what parts, and I'll get dinged, and then it'll ask me if I want to cut it out, and it'll be cut out. So I'm going to just let it roll because they've been monetizing for everybody lately, and I don't know why it would stop there, but maybe it will. They're like in the top of Mount Olympus of all the copyright stuff. So
yeah, they're the ones. But yeah, dude, great show. Love the show. and I just assumed that's what he was talking about. But y'all have a good night. Thanks for taking my call.
It makes a lot of sense, and please call in again because I like these streetwise takes on things. Please.
Yes, sir. Thanks.
All right.
Bye.
Take care. He sounds like he's fun to hang out with. I don't know what it is. Let's see here. 585. Let's have another go. How you doing?
Hey, Frank. Greetings from Rottenchester, New York. This is Craig.
What's going on there from Rottenchester, New York?
Well, actually, it was a good day today because it got to 66 degrees today, and I got to walk outside and do my 7-mile walk, and I had my shirt on. Actually, when I came home, shielded from the wind, I could actually catch some sun today.
It
wasn't as good as Cancun 2 weeks ago, but it was still pretty good.
Yes, the last time we spoke, we were talking about very rare pennies and all that stuff before you were going to Cancun.
Oh, yeah.
I'm glad you're having a good time.
You remember me then.
Yes.
It's down to 40 degrees now, by the way. It's only going to be cold for one day.
It's
well,
all
you're
right.
in New York, too, you know.
It's March, yeah.
Yeah, well, you were talking about peasants and owning your houses, and that's got me thinking. It's like I got my new tax assessment bill. You know, they don't raise your taxes, but they just raise your property assessment. And mine went up 61% in 1 year. And the funny thing is I did some research on the house and the track, and it's pretty much on the money from what things are selling for. But boy, you know, they just keep socking it to you. And I'm retired. I'm not quite 65 yet, but my wife's 68. She robbed the cradle, you know.
Yeah.
So we get the discount for that, but it's just, man, it just never ends. And you know, people forget. People ought to look up. You know, before 1913, we didn't have freaking income tax or anything else. We just did stuff with tariffs. So when I hear all this crap about, you know, Trump and the tariffs and bringing down the economy and all this, you know, it just drives me crazy.
Well, I listen, I understand. And you know, the other thing that we don't have, and thank you, is there anything else you want to say before we go to the next call? Because
Nope, I'm good. I just wanted to give you a call tonight.
It's great to hear back, and I hope that I hope that you got some good sun and a nice base tan in Cancun, because you know it won't be too long before we're hitting this. I see that over the weekend we're going to get in the upper 60s over here too. So hopefully Rochester is able to get you nice and burnt soon. But 1913 changed so much in that respect. Especially in state spending, huge. What the doors opened up for. Then, of course, it was really the 1930s and the four terms that all of our grandparents and great grandparents gave to a absolute fucking communist. I mean, we go on and on about the greatest generation. They put a communist in 4 fucking times. There's something that we got to be able to say. Thanks. But that, you know, the expansion of the government under FDR and what it provided for people outside of the bounds and the strictures of its authority is crazy. And then, of course, at that point, when you have the federal government that's doing so much for the states, that it otherwise would had to be very prudent in what it could do for itself. Now you think about what it would force the states to be able to take up on in a domestic spending situation if they were going to be able to come off of that government drip. You know, that's why you need actually really, really crafty people to get into state government, because there are ways, I should say, to get off of this and to, you know, I think it'd be fun. I think it'd be really interesting. I think we can do it. I really do. I have faith it's possible. The real question is, again, do you have faith that it's possible to remove the roadblocks? And there's a lot of roadblocks. They come in many, many forms: people, organizations, ideologies, and some of them are very, very violent and very, very. I mean, but okay, we got 20 minutes. This is what I'm coming down to. It's really that whole war idea, the whole idea of war. Because I was looking at this here too. End Wokeness put this out. It's just a little bit of a recap of what's been going on at Tesla dealerships and charging stations, things being set on fire, vandalized, whatever the hell it is. Tesla owners have been harassed and all that stuff. And Raw Egg Nationalist said that, why is it that you can't find Democrats in office that are condemning the escalating attacks on all things Tesla? Wren said that's because they all support it. Remember how AOC and Bernie Sanders were both parroting Luigi Mangioni's rant about America's oligarchy within days of the murder. This is the left strategy. Now that mass mobilization is dead, terror through lone wolf style activism or in small cells. We were talking about it last night with Reddit Lies and Libs of Reddit, that there is an appropriate little buffer between these things, but between these people. And it's one of the last lines of defense. It really is. And, it's almost like, but the real issue here is in fighting back. And what do you do to position yourself? And I really am I think I should hold off on this bigger thing because it's a much bigger conversation. And I don't think 15 minutes is enough I don't think I should just plant a seed for something like this. We should just do it or don't do it. So I'm going to save it for tomorrow for sure. But I guess that's the seed I will plant, is that when you think about what is in our way, it's not just whoopsie. It's not bad habits. It's a lot of malintent, and it's war. It really is. So how do you fight that war without becoming the evil that is very, very evident in all things, especially when we start getting down to violence? That's what we're going to be talking about tomorrow in either that or Thursday, because I think that this interesting job thing, this most meaningful job thread is really rich. And I know that we're going to have a lot of great things coming in on that one. Please get into that thread. There was this one thing that did come in that we can do real quick right now, and this is Alina Habba. She's one of the people that went on Piers Morgan and said that she saw the Epstein files and they're terrible. I don't know what files she's talking about, because they were already 4 years old. We already knew what was in it. So was she lying? Did she not pay attention 4 years ago? Did she know it was old news? She was part of that whole hype. Anyway, she's sitting at a desk. This is tweeted out by Shadow of Ezra. Donald Trump's advisor, Alina Habba, discovered the fake Oval Office where Joe Biden allegedly pretended to be president. The room includes a teleprompter positioned directly in front of him and a smaller desk when he would play his role as president. The whole setup looks like a Hollywood studio. Now, we've had a lot of production-related questions about Joe Biden and how this man that we knew had no mental facilities left was being managed in a public relations sense. But I really don't understand the whole aim of this video. Take a look at this. Listen to it too.
You guys, I just finished a show. Look at the room that they put me in. We're in Biden's fake Oval Office, everybody. And I've actually figured this out. I now know why. I now get it. Turn the camera around. There is a screen, teleprompter to the face. All I can say is the last administration was a disgrace. You guys?
I got to be honest, I don't understand what the point is. I mean, it's perfectly believable that there would be numerous places for a public figure like a president to sit down and create pieces of media for public release outside of the Oval Office. Everybody uses teleprompters. Whenever there are addresses from the Oval Office that we've gotten from presidents over years, that was not off the dome. That was not off the dome. They would bring the teleprompters into the Oval Office. They do fit. So I don't understand, we got the smoking gun. Here was the teleprompter. Everybody uses teleprompters. I don't understand this. Okay? Then again, who the hell is she and how important? I don't know. But this is just ridiculous. It's a lot of people saying, we found the fake Oval Office. We had a lot of production-related questions about Joe Biden. But the idea that there are sound stages and places where multimedia could be shot for public release in or around the campus of the White House is not surprising at all. Now, if she opened up a broom closet somewhere and saw a collection of biosynthetic Joe Biden masks, if she saw a bunch of biosynthetic Joe Biden masks hanging up on hooks that somebody forgot to clear out when they were moving out of there in January, then we're in business. But this just seems silly. I mean, you got to give me something else. Find me the hard drive that has all of the AI Joe Biden filters that they were generating fake Joe Biden videos with. Okay? A multimedia soundstage does not move the needle for me. So I don't know. A lot of people thought, unless I missed something, because she put all of her attention on the teleprompter, but teleprompters that's part and parcel of doing this kind of stuff. So I don't know. All right, more calls, and then we're off because it's 8:47. This has been a great show, and the American dream and open lines aspect of the evening has really just filled things up nicely. So I'm not going to introduce anything else. We have great topics that'll float us through the rest of the week. Over on quitefrankly.tv, a lot of people hanging out over there. Let me get into those super chats real quick. Hold on. And we'll take a call from Aaron. Aaron, how are you?
Oh, if I was doing any better, I'd be you, Frank.
Oh, boy. If I felt any better, I'd be sick, said Dean Martin.
Good one.
Go ahead.
I lived the American dream. I grew up in Mound, Minnesota, by Lake, across the street from Lake Minnetonka, and it was the birthplace of Tonka Toys. And my dad worked at Tonka Toys as a tool maker. And in my fourth grade class at Shirley Hills Elementary School, which at the time it was built in 55, it was the biggest elementary school in America because of Tonka. Everyone was so proud of Tonka that we were from the town that Tonka was from. There was so much pride. Everybody worked there. My dad worked there. All my friends at school had people in their family that worked there. That's the American dream, to have a company or companies with a lot of character and quality that you're proud of. Your people can make money working there. You know, I always wanted my toy company to become a big company that people would be proud to be whatever town it's in. You know, that's just something that it was a beautiful, beautiful thing.
You know, you bring up something, Aaron, that I think is a very it's a very complimentary question to ask, alongside of what do you believe the American dream is, and that question being, have you lived the American dream? And
I think I have.
And I guess if you felt it, if you had been there, it's not something. Nothing lasts forever, so there's no reason to say that a person who had everything exactly where you believe it should have always been. If you were going to say, if I can duplicate this moment in time right now, I'd live in paradise, then I think that there's a lot of room for people to call in and contribute on that level. I think it's a very complimentary question, and I wish I had come up with it earlier in the show, because I wonder how many more questions or calls like yours I would have gotten tonight. But I'm glad yours came in, though.
I'm really happy too. And, you know, there was an A&W in the town next to Mound, in Spring Park, and they kept open late because when the workers at Tonka got out, there was no place to go and eat. So they purposely stayed open late so they would have a place to eat. And that's community. That's everything. And I grew up in the 60s and 70s, and my dad would come home with, you know, toy parts from various different Tonka toys, and we put the toys together. And I got to invent toys, and I got to do commercial art at the beginning. And I worked, did some jobs for Shopper, which my dad also worked for, Shopper, the Cootie Company, also in Minnesota. And then I worked at Tonka. But before that, I worked at Hasbro out in Rhode
Jeez,
Island.
you're a regular elf.
That was my dream. I wanted to always be an inventor. In school, they teach you about Thomas Edison, but they'd never teach you how he did it. And I was always wanting that class. I got to teach that class to second graders in 1981 when I got a job as a teacher's aide at Alice Smith Elementary School to gifted second graders, and they were awesome inventors. But we shouldn't have inventing class in schools. We should teach inventing, because that's what really opens up the mind of a child. And I got to be a toy inventor, and it was just great. I was working at Hasbro. We had a Monday morning meeting every Monday, and I'd have a whole bunch of drawings and models of ideas I had. Nobody else had ideas. I thought that was my job, to come up with ideas. And I came up with something that became a really big hit in girls' toys called the fairy tale dolls, little birds that you groom. They were a close second to Pony that year, the next year that came out.
Well, that's
I also...
Yeah, go ahead.
I also got to go to Toy Fair, which is in New York. I loved New York in February. It was awesome, Toy Fair. And I got to go to, when I worked at Tonka years later, in the late 80s, I got to go to Lucas Ranch because I was working on the Willow line, toy line for Willow. And that was fantastic. That was such a memorable thing. I still got all the stuff that they gave us. Book.
Again, you bringing really interesting things here, Aaron. And while you're telling me all this stuff, I went and I took a look at a few things that I wanted to see again. This one thing says vintage 1970, but it seems like it hasn't really changed that much when I had it in the 90s, the early 90s, and that was the Tonka steam shovel. Where's the steam? Here it is, right here. This thing, where we would actually almost like sit on it, and then you can the two handlebars, you pull it back and it extends the steam shovel out, and you can scoop it under. And they were all metal too. And then I had the cement mixer too. This is the one I looked at. The cement mixer, you pull that under. We used to put all of our toys inside the cement mixer and just tumble them like a dryer or something like that. They come out the other end. I remember all this stuff. I had a couple of really good Tonka trucks because they didn't break. They're all
great toys.
Yeah, die cast and
great toys.
Anyway, but thanks for the call, Aaron.
That's stamped metal. And you know how the inventor, the starter of Tonka, got the idea for Tonka toys?
What?
His little boy was looking out the window, running to the window when the big trucks would drive by. And he thought, if we could make metal trucks, toy trucks, high quality toy trucks like the ones the kids are excited about going by the window, maybe we'll have something. And that was it. Isn't that nice? It
is, especially at that point. I mean, I'm sure that there were toy trucks all over the place, but a lot of them were probably wood, and I don't know. But these were always they always stood the test of time because they were metal and they were well put together, and you can really beat the shit out of them, and they do fine. You can actually go on construction projects with them, so they're very rugged. And again, Aaron, thank you so much for the walk down memory lane and for contributing to the conversation.
You're welcome, buddy. Take care, buddy.
All right. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
All right. Bye-bye.
There you go. It's going to be more where that came from. A lot more. So we'll actually add on to this tomorrow, because when you talk about meaningful jobs, talking about jobs that they meant so much more to you than just the compensation, which of course is a priority. And maybe it wasn't. Especially, let's say the most meaningful job you had was when you were young and you didn't have too many responsibilities, and you can actually coast on a little bit less because there was a real feeling of satisfaction with being in this particular job that you had, whatever it was. You'll see how we'll introduce it tomorrow, but please go and jump into those Twitter. I put the thread on Twitter. I put it to the top of the forum. And I'd love to hear from you guys and have you contribute tomorrow. It's 8:56 now. And let me just tell you what we have going on in the after hours on quitefrankly.tv, the original Quite frankly. What we have going, this has all been curated by John Carroll, who is engineering this evening, as he is most evenings, is Truth Stream Media. Is this the last phase before AI government? Tucker Carlson debates Chris Cuomo. Alan Watts, What is Reality? And The Confessionals with Daniel Duval, The Power of Archie? Archie? Or Arc? I don't know. I haven't seen this. So I don't know how to pronounce it, but I'm going to watch it tonight. It's a really short, sweet after hours, all beginning on quitefrankly.tv as soon as the end credits finish rolling over here. And I thank you guys, one and all. See, I see on quitefrankly.tv just, hey, Frank and friends from Scotland. What's going on, Dark Heart Hemi says the dream should be to earn your prosperity and be thankful for it and mindful of those in your community with whom you can share as you wish. Big part of it, no doubt. I think we got the foundation. I think we got a little shades of color in there too. So I really like that. And again, ladies and gentlemen, we got really wonderful sponsors at Keto Brainz that are giving away all types of hydration salts with every purchase that you have through them. The link is in the description below, or multiple places you can click through onto Keto Brainz through quitefrankly.tv and become a sponsor of the show. Doesn't matter how little. Doesn't matter. You can, for as little as $5 a month, $60 a year. And what you get in return is worth many hundreds. Okay? That's the value I have on it. Many hundreds. All of the culture clubs, all of the extra stuff that we do, the giveaways, and more, and all boundless resources, because it all comes from love of doing this. So I'll see you guys tomorrow, 7 o'clock. Thank you so much, and I'll check you out in the chat room on quitefrankly.tv for the after hours. Good evening to you and yours.
I'll catch you on the flip side.
Quite Frankly is filmed for a live studio audience, and now our super chatters starring Jay Britz, Dean Rayner Art, and Shotzi. Oh, that was from yesterday, but it's okay. Shotzi gets another shout out. Thank you to our wonderful Rumble ranters, Grandma Grateful, Hey Would You Blow Me Too, Jay Semo, and Blowin' Jay. Thank you so much. Thank you. Everybody just blowing each other. Okay, I'm going to release the scratching, and I'll see you tomorrow. Good night. Release the...
Will you shut up? No.
It's well, at least nobody's listening to me now. Now I can tell them how I really feel. Oh.